Welcome to The Map. I am Kimberly Walsh, founder of Brady's Landing, a woman's sober home in Sandwich, Mass. And joining me, as always, are my incomparable co-host, Kristen Perry Long. She's a recovery coach, and our moderator, producer, Andy Bernstein. Hello, guys.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, everyone. We have a great show today. We are going to meet our friend, actor Paul Kandarian.
You said it right.
Yes. Paul is going to share his personal and professional story. We're so excited to have him here. We will get to that at the next segment. But before we get started, let's talk about an article that came out January 2020 that is actually appropriate to this podcast. So, according to Yahoo Finance, there's a new analysis that came out that talks about, amongst other things,
the addiction industry, right?
It does. Which has become, if any of you are questioning it, it's a $42 billion industry.
That's with a B.
With a B.
I think it's more like a Z.
Yeah.
Zillion.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it's been growing steadily since basically the early 2000s.
Right. Now venture capitalists are getting involved.
Oh, they've been getting involved. And now we're getting conglomerates. We're getting AAC, AdCare, what have you, just scooping up, buying all the little guys and making a whole platform, putting everything together, right?
Right.
And they're making like having treatment facilities, and they all run the same program, right?
Yep.
The problem is...
Yeah, why are you so fired up about this? You were very, very fired up.
I was very angry because it doesn't work. It's been proven to show these treatment centers, the programming is off. It's wrong. They don't work. So why are why are these conglomerates coming in? I'm not saying always. Okay, it's not that they always don't work, but the actual setup is faulty.
It's counterproductive.
Yeah.
You want to take care of people.
Sure.
And you want to get people help, but at the same time, you have to pay your bills.
Correct. And I get that. There's a problem when they get focused on, and this is, I know, sometimes just the shady ones, but they focus on, okay, we get them in for 30 days. Okay, you're in a bubble for 30 days. They release you back to the home, your environment with which you came. They are almost banking on your relapse. They bring you back in, they charge your insurance company, and rinse and repeat. And this is what happens. Yep. 1 in 6, the statistics are, and maybe even less now, 1 in 6 people who have been through treatment actually stay sober. 1 in 6.
Right, so the odds are...
It's not...
So
in any other industry, in any other healthcare, in any other circumstances, the federal government, the state, no one would accept that kind of ratio and pour money into it.
Well, that's why they're coming up with this study, because they're trying to find out, things like shoddy facilities, patient brokering,
right?
Which is a whole nother.
It's a whole nother show.
Kettle of fish. Overbilling.
Overbilling's ridiculous.
Yeah.
This actually happened with the sleep apnea business, believe it or not. The sleep studies, they had private equity firms were getting into it. Like one place went belly up. They were owned by Cape Cod Potato Chips. The guys from Cape Cod sold their company.
Oh my God.
I think it was to Anheuser-Busch, and then they got into this. So, it seems like, the conglomeration actually is hurting the care.
It is hurting the care. That's the point.
So how do you fix it?
Well, that's just it.
So, interesting story. So I went and visited a program yesterday, and it is owned by a bigger program that has multiple programs throughout the country.
Mm-hmm.
And what's different from them is it's kind of like... it's a franchise. It's treated as a franchise, more or less. You have what you have to do. You have who you have to pay. But as far as your treatment, there are guidelines, but there's wiggle room, and you're able to accommodate the people that come in, because it's ever changing. As the drugs are changing, the reactions, the
withdrawals.
It's not even the withdrawals. It's just how people are responding to the drugs and how they're just not... doing well. And it's not like everybody's different, right? It's my phone, sorry.
That's all right.
Everybody reacts differently to a drug. There's the standard, with fentanyl, people get tired and they get slow and they feel good and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But it's the long-term effects. It's how they affect and how it suppresses the mental health part of it. It suppresses the reasons why they're using. So anyway, long story short, this particular treatment center is, they do it their way. Mm-hmm. They stay within the guidelines, but they offer those extra things. Like, so for UAs, they do random UAs. They don't send them out to a lab. You know why? They don't send them out.
UAs, urine.
I said it. That's right.
They don't send them out to a lab because you know what? It's an added expense to that person. And unless there's a reason to send it out, they're not sending them out. They're just sending them out for accountability. They're taking UAs for accountability, for consistency. Not to make any money. They're losing money because it costs them money to buy those little cups. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're providing a program that is consistent, that, you're not hearing about in the news, because they're not flying under the radar.
And they're not spending money on marketing.
Right, right. They're just doing it. There's a handful of them actually in the state of Massachusetts that.
And you know who they are.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to reach out to Chris, she can.
Yeah. No. I'm all about putting, people in where it belong, where they belong. Yeah. And Kimberly, okay. Where they belong, And so these bigger places like AAC and AdCare. That's another thing. AdCare got bought by AAC.
That's right.
They combined, yeah.
Right. So AAC came in and said, we're going to do it this way, that way, and everything. And AdCare was like, I don't think so, because this is Massachusetts, and what you're seeing in California and what we're seeing in Massachusetts is not one and the same.
They're trying to standardize this
thing. They were.
thing.
And AdCare pushed back, and they said, okay, fine.
I think, and I'm not an expert by any stretch, but to me,
you're your own expert.
I am my own expert, and I'm a legend in my own mind. But to me, it seems like, right? And I don't know. You'll know this, but let's say you go through treatment, right? I go through 30 days, or I go through 60 days, or whatever, and I get out, right? What is there for people from the treatment centers that continues?
Sober living and IOP.
Thank you. Right. But how
intensive outpatient, which means they're not living at the same place that they get treatment. They go outside. So it'll be a group setting. Usually it's like about 3 to 4 hours a day, and they'll 5 days a week, and you go to the facility and you engage in group therapy.
Okay. All right. So
while you're living at a sober living home.
That's what I work at now. So I work at a IOP. IOP, OP, and MAT program. There's no beds. It's the way I explain it to people. It's like going for physical therapy. You go to the facility, you get your physical therapy, and you go home.
Right. And the recommended home is a sober living home, where you have structure and stuff.
And coping techniques in life and how you handle things.
Yeah. So it's pretty much
it's an extension, right?
It is an extension, and it's an opportunity for you to be able to have a safe place to go if you're struggling in the real world.
Right.
Like, so you go in. So the one that I work at, I'm like so happy. I've worked at a lot of places. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, we know.
And
I'm kidding.
And what I've noticed, my IOP is very small. And what I've noticed is that the community that is built within our groups is that of one that people feel safe, to the point where they're exchanging phone numbers, they're going to meetings together outside of the program.
So they're building a fellowship.
They're building
with each
a fellowship.
Right.
They're having lunch after IOP. They're saying, okay, you bring coffee, I'll bring donuts for, group the next day. And this is the kicker. And they're calling to say, hey, I'm running 15 minutes late. Hey, I'm sick, I'm not going to make it. Hey,
so there's
why is that
accountability?
It's not that it's accountability. It's just, for me personally, like, you go to some of these bigger places and people don't show up for IOP. It's a no-show.
Right.
So in other words, it's more intimate.
It's
right?
very intimate, and they're enjoying it, and they
care about it.
They care about it, and they feel responsible enough to say, hey, I'm not going to make it. And these are people that are 30 days clean. These are people that are right out of sober. Out of detox. Some of them just bypass the PHP. They've been to 1 million PHPs. They're done. They relapse, and they're going into the IOP because they need to work, and they don't want to commit.
Let me ask you a question, because we're going to have to take a break. Aren't we going to have to take a break
Pretty soon? Yeah.
Yeah. Here's and we'll be back with
Got a few minutes.
The great Paul Kandarian who's
Yes.
sitting there patiently. Now, here's my question: with how practical, like real life applications are taught, for example, financial literacy, career training, do you think having things like that would actually help?
It depends.
They are, though. They are, though.
They do.
Okay.
So
and it depends. though.
at recovery centers, a lot of, so, you talk about treatment centers popping up. Well, there's a lot of recovery centers popping up. And what's beautiful about some of these recovery centers, they're throughout the state of Massachusetts.
Define recovery centers for our
So, like Situate has one. It's a Situate Recovery Center. Plymouth has one.
what separates it from a treatment center?
There's no treatment. It is a resource center. It is a place to go if you're struggling. It is a place to have meetings. It is a place to go for resources. It's a place. It's like a welcome to Massachusetts information station
For addiction.
for people that are suffering from addiction.
Can we put
It's a
this on our
community-
Facebook
Yes,
page?
we
Yeah,
can.
absolutely.
It's a community resource. So
Yeah, they're-
Hyannis has one too called Peer Recovery, and that's what they do. They have meetings there. They have downstairs. They have video games, foosball, pool tables, and it's just a place where people can congregate.
So there is community out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you want it.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
there is.
Yeah.
And that's as we've talked about before, recovery is about community.
Correct, but someone who's struggling
BSAS,
though,
I think it's BSAS. Is it BSAS?
Bureau
that
of
has-
Substance Abuse.
Yeah, I think they have a whole listing of them. So like Quincy has one. It's Quincy Hope. Walpole has one. It's right on Main Street. They're all over, and they're wonderful. They offer free childcare. You can get
Sometimes,
you can get job training, resume building.
Right.
A lot of these they're out there.
I think it's important to note though that the person who's struggling isn't likely to walk into one of those community resource places. We got time.
No. All right.
Jesus. Anyway.
We'll pick back up. Hold on. Go ahead.
So anyway, a person who's struggling is not going to literally walk into one of those places and say, hey, that's usually not what happens. That's usually after they've had treatment, maybe after they've been struggling a little bit, go back out into the community. So what's recommended for people through treatment, and you asked about services, things like that, it's going to depend. It's going to depend, unfortunately, on income level a lot of the times. Okay, so someone who's coming like through, say, who goes to McLean and then goes through like a high-end sober living, they don't need resume building skills. They're not going to go to a recovery center. They're just not. So
but they're not just limited to. I mean, they have yoga. They have.
This is
they have
true.
all kind. They have. Everybody has different stuff. They do.
You do a lot of it at Brady's Landing, right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out that it is income contingent sometimes.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, I just think about it and I've known people who, they're in recovery and the problems are still there. So how do you address those problems? What are the problems? Are financial problems? Is it,
See, that's the thing. Everyone's different, and I
Right.
think that's a part of the problem, which we can get back into and maybe on a different show. But I think that there is certainly disparity. There's all kinds of issues that need to come into play when we're dealing with when bringing someone into recovery. Every single
I think-
person's different.
Yeah. I mean, I think the important thing is meeting clients where they're at. So for me personally, for what I do is when people get in and out of treatment, if I put them into treatment, I ask them to stay in touch with me. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. Like, I'm not going to chase them. I'm not going to work harder than they are. But you'd be surprised when you create that relationship. I mean, I have a lot of people that I've never met, that I've only talked to on the telephone and directed them to and connected them to people, but they keep coming back because those resources are good and they're positive and they want it, and
The relationship
and
is key.
It is. It's important, and they don't. It's
but
just.
you're a rare breed too. At the same time, I mean, you're a very dedicated person to this
Yeah, I try to be.
Be
mission.
sure to get the right person.
Right. So you're a valuable resource. So you're, so finding the Chris's of the world.
They're out there.
Yeah, but you got to
know?
you got to do your homework.
Yeah.
Do your homework.
You do.
And we'll provide you with a phone number here soon.
Will we?
Yes, we will.
Okay, cool.
Whose phone number?
Both of ours, I think.
Okay.
But don't call them
No, definitely call.
for like
Call for
You can call for anything.
Call for anything.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll put you in the right direction.
It'll
at least.
cost you a cheese pizza when you have 60 days. That's
There you
that's
go.
my cost.
There
There you go.
Can we take a break
Now
now?
we can take a break.
Okay, thank you.
Are
We'll
you
be
sure you
right
can
back
agree?
on
The map.
The
map.
map. Welcome back, everybody, to The Map, where it's okay to ask for directions.
Ooh. That's our new.
not in the
That's our new
script.
tagline. That's our new tagline.
It is.
You love that.
I love that.
You love that. Okay.
I am still Kimberly Walsh, and I'm still here with Kristen Perry Long and Andy Bernstein, and we're going to meet today's special guest right now. So, Chris, I'm going to let you do the honors. Take it away.
All right. Today's special guest is Paul Kadarian. He's an author, writer, and isn't an author and a writer the same thing?
Kandarian.
Kandarian. What did I say?
No, an author writes books. A writer writes freelance articles.
Okay. And an actor.
A thespian.
A what?
A thespian.
Thespian.
Thespian. Okay. I have no idea what that means.
Means an actor.
It's an
A what?
That's
It's a fancy
actor.
word.
An
for
actor.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
He's an actor.
He's an actor.
He's done a wide variety of work, including dozens of plays and TV shows, the History Channel, Hulu, independent movies, shorts. You've done shorts
I've done in my shorts.
in your shorts. And features international films. Have you ever gone to the Nantucket International Film Festival?
I have been, yeah.
I grew up on Nantucket.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. German Network. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Jawohl.
Sprechen Sie
crowd.
Deutsch? Yeah.
A lot of knockwurst and sauerkraut. Is that
Yeah,
German?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. National and regional commercials, as well as corporate, industrial, and educational videos for hospitals, internet business sites, workplace compliance programs. He's also played everything from a serial killer.
I love that.
What?
To-
grandfathers to millionaires. Paul is also a parent of a child who is in recovery from addiction. Let's welcome Paul to our show.
Welcome.
How you doing? That's pretty much my resume.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
know. It's you're all over the internet. You are. I found a lot of. I should have probably
America's
asked you
Most
for a
Wanted.
bio, but I
that's okay.
Bio schmile. Actually, you and I met a few years
Yeah.
ago, and you had just started a project.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we met through Kevin Stevens.
We met through Kevin Stevens. He was speaking at Brockton High School, and you did a wonderful article
Yeah.
about us for
the Boston Globe, yeah.
for the Boston Globe South Shore edition.
yeah.
So it was weird because we were doing the show here, and
Yeah, I just happened to be here talking to Jury, who does a show here.
Right.
And talking about a film that we're going to do.
here you are.
And then ran into you. It's, oh, yeah, I know this guy.
It's a weird deal,
Yeah.
right? And I'm hard to forget.
yeah. Yeah, they try, but it's
They
really
try.
hard.
You
yeah.
can't. I'm indelible. So, we want to hear about your projects, but before we get started with that, give us a little background because you've actually, as Chris said, you do have a son that has been in recovery,
Yeah.
and that relationship has gone through a lot of changes
yeah,
and
yeah.
involvement. So,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Okay, the nutshell summary is I was on a film 5 or 6 years ago with this young woman who's a fellow actor, Annabeth Moyer Bell, and she was telling me about this nonprofit she was starting called Creating Outreach about addiction support together in Rhode Island because she'd seen a number of people die from overdoses. Her fiance in her community in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, which is a pretty tight-knit community. But it's not the kind of community where this stuff's supposed to happen. And so she gathered all these stories together, put together this nonprofit, and she wrote a play. And I said, well, somewhere down the line, let me know, because I'd love to be part of this. And at the time, my son was still in the depths of the disease of addiction. So flash forward a year or two after that, she got it all together, and I auditioned, and it's been a great relationship ever since. We do there's three signature components of Coast, in addition to she offers curriculum training for schools. She's done a lot of work in schools, working with kids to talk about the disease. But there's 4 legs to stand on. Act 1, which I play the father, and it's a family of 4 around a table dealing with a sibling's addiction. And then there's Act 2, which takes place in a support group, which is really, really powerful. And then there's a play my son and I wrote called Resurfacing, which includes the hockey theme, resurfacing the ice, because I play hockey, he played hockey, I coached him. And we did that through the Health Story Collaborative at Harvard Medical School.
Okay.
So we launched that last year, and so those are the three main performance components, and they're just all very, very powerful. Because after every one, we have talkbacks later, and that's the best part. That's the most compelling part of the whole thing. Is it gives them permission to get up and talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Wow.
And then we talk about community, because I always say we hurt as a community, we will heal as a community.
Yeah,
So you
Boston strong.
You got to get everybody involved. So that's the nutshell summary of what COAST is all about. And it's COAAST.org if you want to go visit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, so talking about resurfacing and bringing up the hockey, how does hockey, the sport of hockey, did you when writing it, the sport of hockey has so many different, ups, downs. It's a tough game.
Yeah.
Did you factor that in at all when you?
No, it was more again, it was my son and I's our frozen common bond. We both loved hockey. He doesn't play anymore. He loved hockey. I loved hockey. We got him into it. I coached on and off for years, and it was just something we did together. And it really, in many ways, it defined his childhood. And so when we did this show, we did it through, like I said, through Harvard. They asked us questions, talk about his upbringing, talk about the roller coaster ride that addiction was. And so they kind of, and my son and I both wrote like 10, 15-page essays on our take on his addiction, separate from each other. And when they got it together, they looked at it. So it's basically the same story. We hit on the same key points that were the most poignant and powerful to us individually.
So he wrote it from his point of view, and you wrote it from your. Interesting.
And it's overlapped beautifully. So they kind of wove it together in a narrative. So it's just two people on stage, myself and an actor playing my son. And it's just warts and all, man. It's just really, really tough, rugged, no nonsense, no BS kind of approach.
Kind of raw.
Very raw, yeah. Because I mean, one of them, so many powerful moments in it. But I came home one time, and he was sitting up in bed, and he had a Boston Bruins T-shirt on, a sweatshirt that I bought him in his first stint in recovery, which is a S show in itself, because they kept him for 5 days and let him out. I thought, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
No, I learned pretty quick this time worked. But anyway, came home, and he was sitting up, luckily, and he had thrown up. And the vomit had just dried all the way down his chest. It was the longest split second of my life, because I swore he was dead. He had to be dead. But he wasn't blue, cyanotic. So
Did you have to Narcan him that?
No, he just woke up. So, I'm fine, Dad. I know what I'm doing. Drug addicts' famous last words. I know what I'm doing. But I just, cried and wept and begged. And you go through the whole cycle of addiction as it affects people closest to them. Yeah. So that's in the play. I finally got him help at the VA because he's an Army veteran. He got clean, went in, saw and did horrible things that no human being should ever have to do in war. Came home. My parents are dying. So he just went right back down a rabbit hole. It was just, it's like I said, it was up and down. I finally get
their coping skills are just so
lacking.
It's crazy. It's like all through life they deal. We see these kids, they deal, and then they take drugs, and it's almost like the drugs just take their coping skills and they don't give
becomes
them
their
back.
coping skill.
Yeah.
That is their coping skill.
Yeah, I mean that's their solution.
Yeah.
It's like,
they do.
sad.
It takes over. I mean, it turns them into something you don't recognize.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the VA.
Yeah.
How did the VA? How was it to work with the VA? Did they help? They have a certain program, right?
They have a lot of stuff there. But
where are you out of?
Well, he went at the time he was living with me. He went to the Providence VA. Now he lives up in New Hampshire. Now he's working at a recovery center, working with addicts. He graduated summa cum laude from UMass Boston and with a degree in psychology. In Knockwood, he's 5+ years in long-term recovery.
Good for him.
Yeah, so it's really a remarkable story. So and we cover that in the play. Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
I forget. Go ahead.
How important, or how did working on this play, how did it impact the relationship with your son?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it's great because we came through the other side together. So we're doing this together. And as father and son, we just bust each other's chops. And in many father-son relationships, that's how we love each other. We love each other unconditionally to pieces. But, we kind of make fun of each other.
Banter.
But it's good-natured stuff like that. So it's made it stronger. It really, really has. And it was very cathartic to write. It's been cathartic to do. But you meant, that's the VA. VA was sensational. I got to give a shout out to Lynn Dion at the VA. She was she's an RN. I don't know if she was an intake supervisor or what, but she met with Paul, and my son's a charming kid. He's really he's like, well, you know, drug addicts can get whatever they want by being charming, and he was really good at that.
Oh yeah.
But he, you know, they hit it off, and she got him help, and he had a little rocky at the beginning, but then it took off. So I got to give tons of credit to the VA. I mean, the VA gets banged on all the time, but they're overworked, understaffed. They
Exactly.
really are. So, but they do what they can, and Lynn always says, well, your son did all the work, and he did. My son, it was the fight that he found in him, but the VA gave him an opportunity that I'm be forever grateful for. So I got nothing but good things to say. But we did, on another part of this, we did the open the season of this play. We did it 4 times, and one of them was at the VA in Providence for continuing education for the nurses and doctors. And my son came to watch it, which was daunting because my son's watching me do it.
Wow.
And people in the audience, you know, hardened by everything they've seen, they were crying. I mean, it's really, really a powerful, necessary bit of emotional business.
So what's the feedback been like from other people who have seen it?
They love it. I mean, they really do, because it gives, like I said, it gives them permission to feel that. I mean, we've done it for small groups, we've done it for large groups. We've done it for 5,000 or 6,000 school children in Rhode Island, mostly high schools, middle schools, and high schools. Feedback has been uniformly wonderful because it uses drama therapy, and that's a form of therapy that maybe not that many people have heard about, and I never heard about it until I started doing it. But it's just, the arts can connect with people in such a visceral way. Because it's all about story. We're telling a story that's so familiar to so many people.
And did you say they had a place where they could give feedback at the end? They could
we had
talk
talkbacks.
Wow.
Yeah, the first 4 lectures stand on Act 1 is like 35 minutes, and we do a 25-minute talkback that could be like 9 hours. And the second Act 2 is like 40 minutes, but it's the same thing. We have a talkback in resurfacing the play my son and I wrote. Same thing. We have a talkback, and people just once you start talking about it, sometimes it's hard to get people to get up and say stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the hardest place that we had people talk about it was, we've done it at dental conventions. We did it for the CEUs for Children's Hospital, PD Psych Docs at Children's Hospital. Did it in Alpert Medical School in Providence. Sometimes it's tough to get medical professionals to get up and open up. But once they do, it's like, yeah, I have a son who's got this problem. I had a problem. I got an uncle, whatever. Yeah. Because it's just like I always say, it's just like cancer. If you get in a room with 100 people, say how many people have been impacted by cancer, pretty much everybody's hand will go up. You say that about addiction, many would go up, but there's still still that stigma. Yeah, so that's what really we're all about, is lifting the stigma, starting a conversation, because you've got to talk about this stuff or nothing's going to happen. And giving people permission and a safe place to talk about it.
Exactly.
And know they're not alone. Because going through this, when I was going through it with my son, I knew people were going through it, but I never felt more alone in my life. Never felt more helpless.
How long ago was this?
Oh, he's been clean 5.5 years now. But he was, using, it's a long story, but he started out, with pills and cocaine and stuff, and then he got into, as they do, because heroin's much cheaper than OxyContin. So he was on heroin for a few years, and so it was an up and down kind of thing. Because like I said, he got clean, then he went back down the rabbit hole, and he was very, very close to my mom and dad. And he ended up stealing from my father. So this is stuff that still bothers him. And I said, don't let it bother you. You're in a much better place now. And wherever they are, whatever you believe in, if they're looking down, they don't care. They're just really happy that you're in a much better place. Of course. And I don't care. I mean, I've forgiven him long ago. And it took a while to forgive myself, because you beat yourself up. So I was the one that was closest to him, because I'm divorced. He was living with me. And everybody else said, just turn your back, tough love and all that, which is just absolute BS.
I think, hold on. So like the whole tough love and all that and stuff, I think that tough love is different, just like the disease and the recovery and everything for everybody. So your tough love isn't what my tough love, it's about drawing boundaries, and it's about being able to, I work with families all the time, and I'm like, you guys need to draw boundaries, draw a line in the sand, and it can be moved, but draw a line in the sand that you're not going to step over when they push your buttons, baby steps, and then we're going to push that line out. And so like that tough love, it has such a bad label.
Well, I'm talking about just throwing them out. Just turn your back on, say, I can't deal with you anymore.
But there are some kids that you can throw out. Like I asked my son to leave because because I knew he was resourceful enough. I knew as a parent he was resourceful enough, and he was. He was out for 8 months before he came back and he reached and asked for help.
I couldn't do it.
No,
could not do
but
it.
yeah,
Everybody's
I
different.
couldn't throw my daughter
Every
out.
case is different, too.
Right?
Every
But I
case
could
is
throw my son out. You
Yeah,
know what I
but
mean?
they're
You
different
know.
people, I know.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get that whole tough love thing, and it's like I don't use tough love, because it's just one of those words that it's been labeled.
It's easier said than done.
Plus,
Yeah.
more appropriately
means
would be
different-
boundaries.
Right,
Yeah,
because
it's
we
a
don't want
different
to. I always tell my parents, no matter what you tell your kids, the last thing, I love you.
Oh, no.
I love
yeah,
you. I
definitely.
always tell
Yeah,
you I love
yeah,
you,
yeah.
because sometimes they don't. They feel like they don't love them or they can't love them, and it's like giving a parent permission to say I love you.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
they don't feel like
is-
they're worth it. They don't feel like they're worth your love, and they
No.
are. They still are. They're still your kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So you have some other things, in addition to
yeah.
Coast.
Ghost, yeah.
Okay, so you're still active with them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we're just starting our new spring season for Four Legs to Stand on Act 1. We're going to be doing it all over Rhode Island.
You can be the same play?
The Four Legs to Stand on, yeah. And then there's an Act 1, Act 2. We're doing Act 1 now this spring. We've done it since 2016. The play I'm talking about, my son and I did together, we're still working on getting places to do that.
Sure.
So, but it's all about funding. It's a nonprofit, so it's trying to get funding, trying to get people to pony up some money to
Right.
Corporate America,
yeah.
until they get behind this.
Oh, no. Oh,
I'm going to sound like Bernie Sanders right now, but
no, it's true. Yeah.
Do you drive a Subaru?
I do drive a Subaru. In fact, it's parked right there. But
Yeah.
I do. I'm not. That's my wife's car. Okay, I have an
We are
Infinity.
so going to avoid
Okay.
any political
All right.
discussion.
but getting corporate America on board
Yeah.
is what we
You
need.
got to make it appealing to them to show them as
That's
part of their
right.
wellness program. It will reduce their costs.
Right.
You got to make
Yes.
it financial. You
Yes.
got to make it monetary.
100%, Paul.
Because other than that, they don't give a crap.
No,
they really
it's,
don't.
no,
We did
it's
it-
like they're not going to buy products from me, so I don't
yeah.
really.
Oh, well, like I said, we did it for Blue Cross. I didn't tell you this. We did it for Blue Cross Blue Shield in Rhode Island for a bunch of their folks there, and they loved it too. So those are the kind of people we have to reach.
Right.
Healthcare providers, hospitals.
Yes.
We did it. Four Lakes to Stand on. We did it for Rowan Medical School, Rowan University, their medical
In New
school
Jersey.
down in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And Camden.
Glassboro State is what it used to be called.
Okay, yeah,
All right,
yeah.
just that.
But it was, and they loved it. I mean, it was for the kids, the third, fourth year medical students, and again, people like crying because they can recognize
Yeah.
themselves or their loved ones or something. So,
Right.
anyway, all the acting I do, and I've done tons of stuff. I'll never do anything more important than this. than
That's
working for
awesome.
Coast. Yeah,
But you are doing you have a non-addiction based.
yeah, yeah. But the thing's funny because I always seem to get these parts where there's addiction is in it. I don't know. It just finds me. I did a movie called Gutterbug and it ended up winning big at the Woods Hole Film Festival, which is a great film festival. I played the father of an addict and a homeless kid that I threw out. I get tough love. I threw him out of the house. Anyway, so I've done that. I've done a bunch of shows, a bunch of films like that. But the next one coming up has got nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with addiction, which is good. But it's about a father and
Self-care.
son. Yeah, it's a father and son. It's about a father who's retired. It's a short film. It's a 15-minute film. A father who's retired who was a workaholic, and he's trying to tell his kids, slow down. You got two little kids. Take it easy, But so it's kind of that message he's sending.
Creating that balance and that relationship.
Yeah, and then we
with
go
father
back
and
to
son.
the home where my wife and I had lived, and in the movie, and bring him there because suddenly I got this urge to go see the house where he grew up, just to show him his ancestral home again and whatever. So there's that, and it's called Sweet Wind. Because when I was a kid, I just used to love looking out the window, staring at the trees blowing, and I loved wind and the noise it made in the trees. So there's the metaphor for that. It's like time is like wind; it just blows over you, and then it's gone. So you just gotta embrace it. And so
Stay in the moment.
Soak it in.
soak it in, and it's called that. The character has got a great monologue because I wrote this thing. It's a great monologue. He's sitting in
If
there.
I do say so. Right.
And he's just telling his son about, just how he used to come out when they were little kids. I'd come out when I couldn't sleep and just watch the trees and the wind wash over me. And I tried to drink it in because it tasted like cool, sweet wind.
So you're really your gift. This is really a gift if you think about it.
Yeah.
To be able to use your abilities as a way to
Reach people.
to reach people.
And in doing this with the nonprofit, I always like to help people, but I never thought much of it. But honestly, helping people and reaching people and giving them a connection, I've never felt more satisfied than that. I mean, I love acting, all the acting I do. But there's something just wonderfully satisfying and fulfilling about actually helping people.
Right.
I make a joke about I hate everybody.
I do that every day.
I hate,
Every
yeah, I
day.
hate
It's like,
people.
Dogs are better than people.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Well,
My
that's
Andrew
true.
Dice Clay's best line was, "I hate everything and
Andrew
everybody
Dice-
and everything about everybody."
Right.
But I mean, I don't. But you pretend I do. But it's just nothing like helping people because we're all somehow connected.
It's
in this
true. It's true.
Wicked, weird world that we live in. We're all connected.
Fills you
somehow.
up, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
3
Paul, I have a
years-
question.
Yep.
So, if you could tell parents, we have parents of children that some of which go to the sober home or that Kristen knows. If you had to give your best advice to a parent dealing with a child with an addiction, say an active addiction, what would your
Well, I could say it now with hindsight's 2020,
Sure.
but it's just patience.
okay?
Just be
good.
patient. Wait. As a friend of mine has always told me, he said, you find out more about the kids by not jumping down their throat and say, what's going on, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's just like, wait for them to tell you.
Right.
And sooner or later, they'll tell you. Because if you have any sort of parental connection, I was very close to my son and my daughter, but you wait, they'll tell you. They'll open up in their own way. I mean, it's tough when you see the mistakes they're making. And I say this in the play, Four Legs to Stand On, Act 1, I have this monologue that I wrote about the kid. I said, I just want to jump inside you and just pull out whatever's eating you and beat the crap out of it, make it go away. But I can't do that.
Yeah.
So you just got to wait. You just got to be patient. And it's the hardest thing in the world because you can see everything they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
And they know they're doing wrong.
No.
Nobody wakes up to say, I'm going to be an addict today. I mean,
course
they
not.
know they're doing wrong. So they got the guilt, the shame, the fear, the uncertainty. So you just got to wait until they kind of come to you. And they will. If you get
Eventually.
any kind of closeness at all, they know they want to get help. And they need you not to be so judgmental. So you just got to be patient.
Interesting. Good. I like that. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
will you give your website again
Yeah.
and the a way somebody can get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's creating outreach about addiction support together. So it's COAAST.org.
Okay.
So it's Coast with an extra A. So they can go there. And I'm at Paul at coast.org. So they can find out there. But just go to the website and you can find out how to book. You can get a hold of our founder, who's a remarkable human being. She's a beautiful soul. She's a NYU master's degree holder. Got into drama therapy. This is her life's calling.
Awesome. And if people want to actually have the play come to their...
Yes.
That's
Well,
where they'd
just
go.
I think
to
we
the
should have
site.
it at the Orpheum.
Yeah, well, we did it for the Safe Coalition. We did it. It's in Foxboro High. We did it at a high school a couple of years ago here. So we've been around. We know Jim Derrick at the Safe Coalition.
Yeah,
I
he's a
love
good
that
guy.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they just opened an office.
All right. I did
Yeah.
his show. He does a radio show. Or he did. I don't know if
Yeah, I
he's
don't think he does it anymore.
Oh,
You're making the circuit.
I am. This is like I got into acting late. I got into acting when I was 2007.
Okay.
Hadn't done it before. Always wanted to. Never had the courage to do it. And then as you get older, it's like, what the hell am I waiting for?
Right, I don't care,
Good
right?
for
And I
you.
tell actors now, I've never felt more comfortable than in front of a camera on stage. And I tell people who get nervous, I say, what's the worst thing going to happen? They're going to blow your head off when you come off the stage?
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. The worst thing happened, you tried.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. And then you
that's
might like
life.
it. You might go back, I got a million auditions. I don't get them all. So what? Just move on to the next one. I feel like I'm going to. Let's get this annoying self-confidence that I say, every part I go for is, they'd be crazy not to hire me.
Ah, there you go.
And then if they don't, it's like, whatever. I'm sure
wasn't
they're willing
the
to pay
right
somebody
thing.
else with
If
more
we-
hair or
Yeah.
shorter or taller or younger or older. Hey,
Us bald guys, we
I'm getting a lot of work, Andy, because I'm an older bald guy.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you could do it.
If we only knew then
you
what
know
we
what?
know now.
You're Jewish, right?
Yeah.
I just did a film.
Old Jew- old
playing an
Jewish
old
bald
Jew. I
guys?
played an old Jew in a film recently.
can't-
Did you get on the rooftop?
I swear, and they had a bunch of other old Jews there. And I was going into like a Yiddish accent, and they said, "You're a better Jew than we are."
Hey, I'll teach you some Yiddish.
Look
Love
at
Yiddish.
Andy lit up right now.
It's the best.
Andy's like, what?
It's
My
the
sandbox?
best.
Very descriptive.
Oh,
Every word is almost I can see that.
Fakakta,
I can speak
love
to
that
this.
word, fakakta.
right? The fakakta thing. My wife is not Jewish, and she uses fakakta.
Yeah, I love that.
Focaccia.
word.
I love focaccia. It's such a good bread.
Fuck. No, that's focaccia. Fakakta. Look it up.
That's fun
I
to
can't
say.
say it.
I think it's like
Fakakta,
Fafoka.
Mashugana,
Sugarnut's great.
Mashugi.
You know
All
the name of the
right,
movie
okay.
is, the name of the movie is
Potato
Birdman.
pancakes.
Okay,
There
if I
you
had
go.
the music
Birdman.
right now.
right.
Latte.
I'm queuing it up.
Cue it up. There you go. Thank you so much, Paul, for coming on.
That
Thanks,
went by
Paul.
like that.
I know,
it?
right? Thank you, sir. We'll be right back on.
The Map. Welcome back to our third segment on The Map. Kimberly, Kristen, and Andy, we're still here. And guess what time it is?
Mailbag. And Paul Kandarian.
And Paul Kandarian's going to stay with us and kind of chime if.
I'll kibitz.
Oh, kibitz.
Another Yiddish.
Nice.
Kibitz.
Oh, he had the accent on
Yeah,
the wrong
yeah, yeah.
syllable.
It's a lot. Kibitz. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So, actually, that's Kristen's going to take this one.
Yeah, you do the honors.
All right. So this one comes from Gary in Foxboro.
We love Gary.
Who doesn't love Gary?
It's great to hear stories about people who have gotten into recovery and appear to be, turn the page, on the right track. Will you guys ever consider having somebody in active addiction as a way to tell their side of the story? That's a great question, and it's a tough question to answer because
To stay politically correct about, yeah.
Right.
I think it would depend, wouldn't it? I mean,
yeah,
if,
I mean it. Yeah,
if someone's really struggling and they want to tell their story and they need help, I don't see a problem with that, provided they're coherent and we can, you can't have someone who's nodding off.
No,
That's not going to happen.
No, but somebody who's like, look,
someone who's
I'm
like, hey,
battling.
I need help and I'm battling. Absolutely. If
yeah, but then we're stigmatizing by them telling them that they're not okay. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
so. What do you mean?
because if you're nodding off and you want to tell your story, it's not their fault that they're nodding off and they want to tell their story. Do you know what I mean? Like
You don't want it to
Like-
be exploitive either.
yeah.
yeah. So
But if
it's
you
like
frame
it's-
it up the right way, like, hey, we have so and so.
Like the show Intervention? Does that?
No, but just like, what's going on, man? Like more of a, just having a conversation.
I think that
Gary, do you want to come on the show?
yeah, maybe. Or I think maybe getting somebody like right out of detox, because at least they're detoxed to some degree. They're still going through withdrawals. Let's not
Right.
sugarcoat this.
right. It's ugly.
5 days, whatever. They're still hurting, and maybe sharing where they are after 5 days of detox, might be a little bit. I don't want to say safer, but safer.
right.
And
Do you
then
know what?
maybe
I don't know. That's a really
It
hard
is a tough
question.
question. Maybe have them back on the show, though. I'd love to do start with
Where
them.
are they now?
Yeah, and then set them up and have them go out.
I
and have
like
them come
that
back.
Yeah.
because
Well, how many people who are in that condition would want to come
That's
on
another.
the show?
That's another good
Right.
point. Yeah,
And you got to get permission. I mean, obviously they give you permission to do it, but would they actually want to come on and talk about
I
it?
know a
don't
few. A lot of us are hams.
Yeah. Yeah.
However,
I don't know because I think it's a really important. We hear the good stories, the people.
Yeah, no, it's true. Because most people are aware that this disease exists and how it affects people, but they've not seen it firsthand.
Right.
So to see somebody who's in the throes of it, it could be. I mean, it would be compelling, and it would be like, holy crap, I didn't know
Right.
it looked like that.
Or maybe have a parent on with. I mean, I wouldn't want to do an intervention, but I think we get into telling the good stuff. The not the fairy tale, but
the recovery happens.
recovery. Yeah, we want to,
Which is
hope,
great.
which is great.
Right.
But we also
We also want to be raw and real.
and tell the story that it's not it doesn't happen overnight. It's a work in progress. It goes on and on.
Or you could tape somebody talking about it like a mini documentary and show that rather than put somebody in a camera.
There you go. There you go.
They may be like
Ding,
ding,
really
ding.
nervous
Safe.
about doing it, and they may not feel like
Right.
themselves.
Plus, we can edit and
You
whatever.
can edit, and make it even more powerful, more compelling.
I like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
There you
You
go.
Then
use your
follow
new
up with
camera.
them.
You use your new
Hey,
camera,
There you go.
Andy.
My new camera. I got to bring it out.
Andy. Boom.
He loves
Yeah,
that.
we could. You know what we could do?
What?
We could honestly. We could go to Methadone Mile, and
My former workplace.
and we could, go down the street and do some live Q&As down the street talking, because some of them will talk to you and some will, push you in front of a bus
Steal your camera.
and steal your camera. Yeah,
I know. Well, I would use.
I wouldn't say that.
use my phone.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Your phone won't work. No, it's funny because I sometimes I'll go out and I'll go with food or something just to do a little bit of, and people look at you like they look at you because they've been so kicked to the curb and kicked to the side. Yeah. They'll look at you like, well, what do you want from me? Right. And it's like, I don't want anything, but I just like to talk to them and I think
that's all they need sometimes is just a compassionate voice. Like I've traveled. I was a travel writer in a former life, and wherever I go, you run into homeless people. They give me a few bucks, and I say, "Look, I'll give you a couple of bucks. I want to hear about you.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I want to talk to you. I want to hear what.
Right.
I think it's something we can definitely entertain. I think it's just something that we have to do
correctly. We have to think about it.
Yeah, we have to think about it a little bit. It's a great question.
Yeah, I do.
There you go, Gary.
Thank you for asking, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
So I think that's our show for the week.
It is our show for the
Again,
week.
thank you to Paul Kandarian
And when will this?
and Michael Weber, our director.
When are we going to air? Next week.
Oh, sorry, next week.
Yeah, it comes.
We'll send you a link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy will
Because
send
we
you
can
the
put
link.
this up on our Coast
Yes,
website.
when we encourage you to do that. Let's
Yes.
absolutely
Thank
send
you. And
you a
we'll
link for
put
that.
the Coast link on our site.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
And you have been listening to?
And you have been listening to
The Map.